everybody, to BBTV. I'm your host, Jeff White. And in today's episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about preparations that you might need to make in order for a pest control company to treat your home or apartment or wherever that you live. If you, unfortunately, are dealing with a bedbug infestation in your home, you may hire a pest control company to come out and eliminate the problem from your house or apartment or whatever the case may be. And when you do that, you're most likely going to receive a list of preparations that you're going to need to make in order for the company to treat your house. And what I want to do in this episode is I want to talk to you about what a lot of pest control companies are doing in regards to asking you to do in order for them to treat your house, and then Bedbug Central's and my view on the preparations list and what we think, because we actually think very differently from what a lot of pest control companies are doing. Okay, the first thing I want to say up front is that regardless of what I say in this episode, it's very important that you follow whatever the pest control company you have hired is asking you to do. You know, they're the people who are treating your home, and they're asking you to do these things for whatever reasons that they have, and if they're treating your house, you want to follow whatever they're asking you to do. I would say to use this episode as a basis for questions to ask them if they say to do something and you're like, well, I'd heard that that's not necessarily necessary. Why are you asking me to do this? So, many pest control companies these days are asking you to empty dressers, empty closets, launder all of your clothing, strip the bed of the sheets and comforters, stand the bed up on end. Those are pretty much the main preparations that most pest control companies are asking people to do in order to treat their home for bed bugs. And so they basically want you to go into your dresser, empty all the clothes out and launder them. Empty the closet out, launder all those clothes. Stand the bed up, strip the bed, clean your house. Pretty typical stuff. Now, the reason they're asking you to do that is because there may be a bug in those items. And obviously, from a pest control company's perspective, if we go into your home, we just can't treat your clothes with pesticides. And then prepping the bed for treatment or encasement or whatever the company's doing makes things go a little smoother the day of the treatment. And that's more or less what most pest control companies are asking, homeowners to do in order to treat their home for bed bugs. And that's fine. I don't necessarily have an argument directly against that, like this is wrong because, that's all fine. And if that's what your pest control company is asking you to do, you can ask them why, but nonetheless you should probably follow what they're asking you to do. But, Bedbug Central, in my view on preparations, is why. Why are you asking people to empty the closet and empty the dresser? What is the reason for asking people to do that? And most pest control companies' response is, well, as I said, there might be a bug in that stuff, and I can't treat it with pesticide, so the only way to get those bugs out is by laundering it in a hot wash and or a hot dry cycle. And that's true. But I ask experienced companies, well, how likely do you, or how often do you find bugs in closets, or on the inside of dressers, in the clothes that's in those dressers? And almost every pest control company I've talked to about this topic says extremely rarely. Usually only in very high-level infestations, where there's hundreds of bugs, do you find bugs in closets and in dressers. It's pretty rare. So what I pose back to them is, why are you asking people to do this if you hardly ever find bugs in those environments? Well, I want to be as prepared as possible. I understand that, but if you ever looked in your closet and in your dressers, and looked at the amount of belongings that you have, how would you feel if a pest control company came in and told you to launder all of your belongings because there may be a bug inside the closet or dresser? Doesn't seem very reasonable, because anybody out there who's watching this that has done that before knows how much work it is to do all of that laundry, all of the clothes, all the delicates. What do you do with the shoes? The things you can't put in a washer or dryer. It's a major task. And you're doing it typically because there may be a bug in it. But most of the time, there probably isn't. Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense on the surface to put people through all that trouble just because there may be a bug. Now, if you have a really bad problem in your house, yes, you may want to do that proactively because there could be a bug in that stuff. But typically in your low-level infestations, the bugs are going to be near the sleeping areas, in the beds, in the nightstands, under the box spring, somewhere within 2 feet of that bed. They're not typically going to be in the dresser or in the nightstand. And so emptying those a lot of times isn't always necessary. and you're asking people to do all that work when it may not be necessary. And so that's our opinion on laundering closets and dressers that are full of clothes. Now, the other issue you have with this is that people empty them, they put them in bags, they seal them up, and they put them in the middle of the room or on top of the bed. I came out here to treat for bed bugs, and now I have to move all these bags in order to get to the bed. So that also eliminates the amount of extra clutter that's created by all the stuff that comes out of those closets and dressers. Now, the issues that we have with stripping the bed and standing the bed up on end is when people do that, you don't see the infestation in its true state. When you strip the bed, when people take that comforter up off of the bed, where does that comforter go? A lot of times it goes in the closet in the hall or in the living room because you asked to strip the bed, but they didn't have time to launder it, so they just throw it wherever. Now bed bugs may be wherever the comforters and blankets are. And so by leaving the comforters and blankets in place, I can control what's going on with that infestation. And then standing the bed up on end is just going to redistribute the bugs. Once you stand it up, the bugs that were on the bottom of the box spring are going to be exposed to light, which they don't like, and they're going to redistribute, or they're going to scatter. And now God knows where the bugs are. So we want all that to stay where it is, because we want to see what's going on. We don't want things to redistribute. Now, on a follow-up service, we may ask you to empty a closet or empty a dresser. If we come in on an initial service and we see bugs or spotting associated with a closet, we'll ask you to empty and launder the contents of that closet for the next service. That reduces the amount of work on you, makes things easier for everybody, and we're still addressing what we need to address. And so to summarize what I basically just said is that a lot of the pest control industry is asking people who are prepping for bedbug treatment to empty dressers and closets out and launder all those belongings, to strip beds, and sometimes even stand those beds up. And Bedbug Central and my philosophy on this is that that may not necessarily be necessary, because there probably isn't bugs in those closets and dressers unless it's a really bad problem. And how would you feel if somebody asked you to empty all that stuff and launder all of it? It's a lot of work. And in the end, hardly anybody does it. Hardly anybody follows the preparations when there's that much work involved. And so, basically, we say that you may need to do that on future services, but we don't typically ask people to do that up front. Let's see what's going on first. You may only have 5 bugs in your apartment, and all those bugs may be on the box spring. And then I asked, why am I asking you to empty all this stuff if the 5 bugs were in the bed and you just did hours of work, an endless amount of money for work, for really no reason? And so that's our idea of bedbug preparations. You may have to do those things, but we'll ask you on a follow-up service to do those, and please leave the bed as is. The only thing that we ask people to do for preparation is to clean your house or apartment or wherever you live. We want to be able to work in the environment. We don't want to be tripping over things the whole time. And so just clean your house or apartment, and we'll take care of the rest. Alright everybody, if you have any questions on bedbug preparations, email me, jeff.white@bedbugcentral.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about that or any other bedbug related topic. I hope to see everybody soon enough.